See it played, Death Ride Kursk, Leibstandarte. So, the adventures of this marauding Delta company. They've now moved adjacent. I don't believe that the Russians here, the Soviets, can conduct defensive fire because they chose to conduct opportunity fire before, even though they were somewhat preempted by the Overwatch fire. So the Delta Company is going to conduct. So they've expended 5.5, 6, 7 movement points up to that point. That is less than half of their movement allowance. So they can conduct fire after movement. Okay, so there is overrun movement, but I'm not going to do that this time. I'll just do fire after movement. What's important here is that the Soviet attackers are suppressed to level 1, which means we're going to add 1 to their defensive value. So their value is not 18, it's 19. The Germans are going to get adjacent fire, which basically counteracts. So it's -2 for movement, fire after movement. Yeah, -2 for firing after movement, but +2 for being adjacent. So those two will counteract. Now I need to remember that the Germans should be elite, so they should get +2, and they are firing from 1 level higher, so that's +3 total so far. I think that's it. So I think it's +3, and then I'll figure all the fire values here. So quick walkthrough. So I have 3 identical platoons here. By the way, the grand result was only an S1. So that's the grand result there. All right, so real quickly, so we have 2.5 secondary factor and 4 primary factor. Again, these are things that you play the game, you pick up the patterns. Already I can see this as a normal dashed unit. Short range is 1, long range is 4. It is at a range of 1. So I already know that this is going to be a 2.5 halved and 4 times 1.5. So even in my head I can do 1.25 plus 6 is 7.25, 7.25 or 7.25. These are identical, so I can just multiply those by 3 in my head, 21.75, and that divided by 19 is, using the calculator, 1.14, but I could have guessed it was the 1 column anyways because it's nowhere near 1.5. So it is on the 1 column. I rolled a 2, pretty bad. +2 for elite, +1 for firing higher is 5, which is just barely an S1. So that's how that all goes. It's really it's not as bad as it looks, and when you I think when you're getting into the game and you can't possibly not get deep into the game, this is kind of like TCS in that respect. You're going to pick it all up. So these are 2 red ones. So because they're red ones, they can be combined. Well, you know what? I'll just they can be, but I'll just play rules as written, and we'll consolidate suppression markers when we're supposed to, as rules as written. So there. So the Germans there. Now they would be moved half, and they would be fire complete. All right, the German player is going to go ahead and declare assault here. And then there would be Russian reserve movement, which actually so there's Russian reserve movement, and then we resolve the close assaults. Of note here is all right, I'm glad I looked into this. So I thought that the heavy weapons platoon was going to support this assault, but actually it can't. And the reason is because this is, think of it as direct support. So, well, I'll leave it like that. So direct support means, the way to remember it is this is 4th Platoon Alpha Company, 1st Battalion. Being 4th Platoon, it can support any and all close assaults by Alpha Company units. This is Delta Company. So it's just the 3 German platoons close assaulting the Soviet tank company at suppression level 2. So I guess a simple way to look at it, which frankly I like, I'll talk about that another time, but assault is basically the same as fire, except that in some cases you'll get, in some cases you'll get extra firepower. Those are against soft targets. And also, importantly, you have a different set of die roll modifiers. I'm going to use this optional, well, I guess I won't use that yet. I'll pull that in later. I haven't played with that optional rule yet. I'll just play straight, no optional rules yet. I still have a lot more to learn of the basic rules. So it's a totally different die roll modifier chart. Other than that, it is basically adjacent combat. Oh, and obviously it's a different table. I guess that is significant. One way to look at it is that, I guess in my ideal world, it would actually be fire, but computed. Anyways, my ideas aside. Yeah, so you have a different die roll modifier table. You might get more firepower because you're adjacent, and you're going to use the assault combat tables, one for the defender results and one for the attacker results. So we'll see how this turns out. By the way, the whole reason for me starting to say that is that because it is basically the same computation of firepower as the fire we just did when we were adjacent, is because it is the same, it's the same calculation, other than now they're at one more suppression level, so it's at 20 defensive. But that's, what do we say, 21.75 divided by 20, it's still on the one column. So this is actually pretty significant. Target is suppressed per level. So the Russians are suppressed to level 2, so that's +2. Assaulter is elite, so that's another +2, so up to +4. Target is below assaulter, another one, that's +5. And then infantry type company / battalion. So this is the unit integrity. We have at least 2 platoons / companies. So at least 2 German platoons plus another one. So that's +6. I'm assuming that this one down here does not apply, but maybe my assumption's wrong. The assault target you have armor present. I mean, these are Russian tanks, and the initiator has armor. I'm going to go ahead and assume that these half tracks don't qualify. So it's +6 on the one column. So the Germans roll a 4 plus 6 is 10. So I index on the defender and the attacker results table. So here's the one column. 10 for the defender is an R result. An R result is target unit stack or one attacking a stack is suppressed an additional 2 levels and retreats 3 hexes. So let's do that, and then we'll. So now they're up to suppression 4. Well, as a matter of fact, well, they are up to 4, but oops, that's German. Obviously, you wouldn't have to always do this, but okay. I'm adding 2 more levels, and they're retreated 3 hexes. So 1, 2, 3, straight back. And then the same column down here on the attacker's part down to 10. Same result is an S. And S means target unit stack or one attacking stack is suppressed an additional 2 levels. So basically, the Germans won the assault, but are still suppressed 2 levels. Now, what comes to my mind is what is there in the game for advance after combat? Well, that was a wild ride while it lasted. I guess you still got to see how an assault happens, but yeah, I was starting to wonder, although I have to say, in all honesty, I would have let this go if I didn't read it, but I was wondering, I was thinking, wow, these are some these are some super powered half tracks. Yeah, half tracks can participate with other units in assault, but half tracks alone cannot assault. Yeah, so now it'd be cool if one of these had been able to dismount and then the half tracks support the dismounted infantry going in the attack. But yeah, half tracks cannot assault by themselves. Glad I saw that. So I think we can do yes, we can do German unit suppression recovery phases is next. So again, the phasing player, the Germans reduce green suppression markers. They only have 1 red suppression marker, so they don't reduce anything. Then both players flip red to green. So the Germans flip their red 2 to green 2. I do think now is when the Soviet player technically consolidates the reds and replaces them with a green 2 as well as the Germans, like that. Then we have German air interdiction marker placement, Red Army air interdiction marker removal, and then we go to the Red Army turn.